how you doing? Let's talk YouTube streets. Let's just fucking talk. When last did I do this? I don't know. Feels like forever. Boom. How are you doing? I'm good. Thank you. There we go. This thing, you know. I'll just switch off where I want it. Oh, come on. So, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, this is an adults only channel. If you're underage, feck off. Or just shut up then. This is about enlightenment. Yes, it's about the greatest secret. Yes, that's this book that I read. It was written in 99. I read it in 2010, 2012, 2011, I don't know. But I was hooked and I was shocked, and I learned about shapeshifters. People like to call them lizards. But the truth of the matter is, I have transformed into somebody completely different in the last 5-10 years. It's like I have shapeshifted, so these things happen. So I did one day write some goals down. Yes, I did. I sat in this flat apartment in the corner of a palace in London, and I said, yes, now you can sit here, and now you can write some goals down, because you are in an earthly version of heaven. And I wrote 4 major goals down. Today I have completed those goals. The goal wasn't for success, it was to achieve or to have completed, done. And by 2019, I had completed it. The end of 2019, the 31st, I did, with the encouragement of some YouTuber astrologer, saying, this is it, you got to do it now, something's going to happen, the end of the world's going to happen now. And it did. And in this, so the final completion of these 4 goals, the one was to open a coffee shop. The other one was to have a TV channel, a YouTube channel, a YouTube show. Did. Okay, it's not the best, but it's did. It is did. The 4th. The 2nd and the 3rd were basically the same, but the 4th was to write a thriller, of which I did. That was the last thing that I had to do on this piece of paper. I don't have this piece of paper anymore. Right? I usually keep these things, but I do also, and sometimes in my life, I've thrown things away which I wish I never did. Or not thrown things away, left them behind when I left, because I don't know if you... Unfortunately, that's another video completely, but I do leave things behind, and it would be great if, but generally, I mean, if you find somebody else's stuff, you're going to burn it. So the last thing was to write this novel, thriller, set in London. Well, I changed it. It's set in London, in Ireland. It's a manuscript. It's shite. But in the book that I read in 2010 called The Greatest Secret, explaining, well, which introduced me to my leap into this abyss of conspiracy theories, they called, because they are not mainstream knowledge. They are called conspiracy theories. The greatest secret ever told. Maybe you're not a conspiracy analyst or theorist like I am, so I'm not going to push that information, but what was in there is what I used for my instrument in my thriller, my paperback novel, the one you find in a drugstore. You know, really fast turning type of book. One thing leads to another. You read it in an airport, and that's the end of that. A short sexual LGBT thriller novel, novella they call it. And of course, one is thinking, use all the narratives of the day. And what are the narratives? They haven't changed much. It's like transgender, gender. Shape-shifting, transgender, shape-shifting, transgender. I mean, plus, of course, you add in the romance, the drugs, well, not drugs, smoking is a drug, isn't it? Unfortunately, in my manuscript, I used people's names who know me, and I let this manuscript leak. And so these people who know me are not my friend anymore. The book is not published under my name. It's not published as far as I know. If it is, somebody's making money off it, I'm sure. That's whatever. At least they make some money here. Good for them. So the point of this video is so there's the lead character in the book called Julien Caine. And he's just your usual garden variety model, you know what I mean, and wants to get ahead and makes a deal with the devil, basically. But it's very fringe. The devil is not the devil. It's much deeper than that. It's the devil pinpointing him. Well, not the devil, but Denel. Denel is one of the fallen angels in history, in the Bible, according to Scripture. Denel, the god of war. And you see, the Earth seems to be going to this war with Andromeda. Earth is protecting our solar system against Andromeda, our solar system and our Milky Way, because Andromeda is coming in to attack. But now, Julien Caine is the lead, is based on me, very free, sexually free. But in one way, he didn't know what he was doing very much. Just being himself, 100%, and cocky in that, which I'm not really in real life. I'm a humble person and I submit. I do. Not virtually. In real life, you learn you have to submit or you die. So, this tart, this gay dregs of a human being, but very good looking, got given this sack, bag, compact, full of dildos, these little. But now, where I got this idea from was from The Greatest Secret. And The Greatest Secret is basically conspiracy theory by David Icke, explaining how all that you and I have been taught is bullshit. And that, say you and I, we both know, say, North Korea is a population of what? A couple of million. And their army is greater than 50% of their population. And that's all they live for, is for protecting their country. And since birth, and their parents, and their parents' parents, all believe in this one enemy, and they all believe in what they're doing is correct. And this is ultimately the reason of this video is, how do you know what you know is right? Because what you've been told is only by the teachers you respected, the preachers you respected, the government you respected, the television that you watch, the news. That which what you watch is your life. And it's not the other way around, where what's happening in real life is your life. No, it's only what they are feeding you. Just like the citizens in Northern Korea. So you might argue with me, well, this is all there is, but how do you know that this is all there is? I jumped to the end of the video. Let's go back a little bit. Because in the book of David Icke, there was the ritual ceremony of the conception of the next king of England with Charles and Diana, which was William. But Charles didn't inseminate her. It was all set in the library or the office in the house where Charles his mother used to live, actually, before they were married. Big house next to Buckingham Palace. Can't think of the name right now. And there was Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth, Camilla, Diana, Charles. And they took this phallic-looking item with spikes. With little, made out of silver. It was called the Pindar. Rose will agree with me. And that's how I met Rose, through my journey of discovering different, and just like Rose was in love with Max Spears, so was I. So was so many other YouTubers. But then he died in 2016. He just was murdered, assassinated, according to some of us. So, coming back to, this was leaked out by Diana to a psychic medium, a tarot card reader, an astrology, a medium, a psychic medium, who Diana used to go to. And it's not on the record, it's off the record, and it's hearsay. But they inseminated Diana with this Pindar, phallic dildo-looking thing with spikes that ripped her apart. She was drugged. This is in her words, according to the clairvoyant. And so in my movie, my book, that's what Julien Caine used, which was magically on the fringe, found in a little swamp-made area in the backyard of this briefcase, the suitcase full of these dildos. And inside this dildo was little scarabs, tiny little beetle bugs, And instead of, like sperm, semen going into, these beetle bugs would go into the person and kill that person. Well, kill. That's if you think of death as we think of death today, in this 3D reality. Once you're dead, you're dead, but nothing really dies. The physical in this 3D dies, but we are infinite consciousness. We're not these physical beings. And so the greatest lie comes into this, telling you that you have no power and you need all the power from your government. More power. You want the power to go to the government so that they can have all this power to strengthen you and help you and make you achieve what you think, what you've been told is rightfully yours as a sovereign being. But that is only a fraction of what you already have. You see, we have these cell phones and these instruments and this technology which mirror the power that we actually have inside of us. We have the power to move things around without touching them. We have the power to speak to each other without opening our mouths, without using a cellular phone across huge distances. We've always had this power inside of us. But it is important for the narrative to stay that we are powerless and we only live maximum 85, 88 years. And so in this stupid novella that I wrote, 12 chapters or whatever. In the end, these 12 characters that were murdered, transformed, they did die. They're out of this reality. They vanished. But they did reappear. Like the reverse version of the Book of the Dead, the mummies. I don't know. So when you die, then at least hopefully you've been baptized, which the pharaohs always ensured. If you were a pharaoh, you would be baptized. And so that means when you wake up from your slumber, you have the strength. You have this invisible strength that is given to you to wake up from your slumber in your after death, as pharaohs do. Jesus came along to teach us that we are all pharaohs, just like he was. And we can rise up again, thanks to John the Baptist. Everything is linked. Even my right hand is connected to my left hand. Everything is connected, and everything has an equal and most important part. If you chop off my pinky, the entire body will suffer. And if that little pinky has a problem and it doesn't work, or it has an anal, it doesn't work, the entire body is affected by the loss of this. And that's maybe ultimately what I'm saying in this video, because they tried to sacrifice me. Whether it is because of this book, this disgusting book where I used Anubis. You know, see, Anubis is the in the Book of the Dead, the deity in charge of mummification, of the afterlife, of going through that portal from this life to the next life, of going through. And so I couldn't use Thoth in my sexual ritual in this video, in this novella. I had, of all the deities from Egyptology, I derived the best god to use was Anubis. All the things that I chose is like reasons, another notch for me to be sacrificed. Everything I've done is just being another notch for people to, never mind sacrifice, to just choose to say, yes, this person does not belong here because they have these thoughts. And believe me, they weren't thoughts. They was, I'm typing, what next? What next can I say that would trigger, that would be pop culture, that would fit in to what life is. This is pre-2020, pre-pandemic. The Book of the Dead. No, not the Book of the Dead, Anubis, the god of mummification, of you going from one state to another. And it was a huge sexual ritual. And of course, I make friends with the nicest old ladies and say, yeah, I wrote this. Would you like to peruse it? And it's like, I don't think they did, but just even friends, the people whose names were in it, I could change the names, but it was only a setting and a scene to lead up to it had nothing to do with my life, really. It's a hero that saves the world, but he had to get his 12 disciples to arm them up. And when they were reborn again, they were reborn into super soldier human beings, muscular shoulders. They raised up 12 feet high, but they didn't have penises. They had vajayjays, as you do in this day and age. Who wants to have a fucking penis? Everybody wants to cut the penises off and become a vajayjay person, a person with a vajayjay, a plastic one. It's a shame. No wonder Tupperware went out of business, because all the vajayjays took all the plastic. Everybody wants to have a plastic vajayjay. Anyway, I hope that made you laugh. I hope that gives you some more insight into me, onto the imagination of Lionel Royale. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Please hit the button. This will go on to Lionel Royale and Kingswood. If you haven't subscribed to Kingswood, please subscribe to Kingswood, because in the future, more personal stuff will be on Kingswood. Although I'm really trying to grow Lionese tracks. So, Vamo Gila Gila, you are always welcome here. Remember, life gets tougher, but we all get smarter. That's the only constant in life, is change. And if we try to change to the better, life gets better. It does get tougher, but we get smarter. So, Salani Gachle. Ek is lief vir julle. Tjus. Siyabonga. Ngiyalaboga. Tot ziens. And remember, you can always comment as you see fit. Let's do a Rose. It's all about Rose. She'd be my new second wife on YouTube.